Hey everybody, what's up? It's Joel, aka The Daily Guru, and it's time for another edition of Something Old, Something New. Today for Something Old, we're going to check out one of the most important hip-hop records ever made. It's 1988, and it's Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. It goes without saying that among the long list of hip-hop icons, Public Enemy stand in a class all their own, as nobody has ever made music with as much power and direction as these guys. Public Enemy is rightfully seen as the most important and outright pivotal political hip-hop group in history, and this record is filled with some of the most borrowed and referenced hip-hop lines ever. Even beyond the world of hip-hop, It Takes a Nation of Millions stands as one of the most socially aware records ever, and it rightfully draws a lot of comparisons to Marvin Gaye's classic What's Going On. This record is absolutely amazing in terms of the sonic assault from the Bomb Squad. And while they'd already made waves with the sounds on the group's previous record, it's on this one where they find their stride. The density and sheer power of the musical arrangements found on this record have never been matched. But at the end of the day, the power of Public Enemy always comes from the unrelenting vocal assault of Chuck D and the way that his sound mixes with the rapping of Flava Flav. On this album, Flava Flav cements his place as one of the best MCs in hip-hop history. Yet there's no question that on every track, Chuck D is the focus. And whether he's taking on the idea of equal rights, black-on-black crime, phone tapping, and other ways of government intervention and surveillance, no subject is out of his grasp or taboo, and his skills as an MC remain unrivaled to this day. On every level, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back remains an essential moment not only in music history, but culture in general. So if somehow you've never experienced the power and the sound found on this record, that's your bad. Go out and fix that right now. Today for Something New, we're going to check out the most recent release from Air, and it's called Le Voyage dans la Lune. Let's get this out of the way. This record is nowhere near the level of Moon Safari, but at the same time, no other album in history is. Truth be told, this record was inspired by the classic short film Voyage to the Moon, but don't expect it to sync up in any way. This is not a score to the film. That was nearly the muse behind the piece. But don't get me wrong, this album is enjoyable and unique in its own way, as Air starts to show a sonic diversity that we've not previously heard. Throughout the album, they seem to be utilizing a lot more live instrumentation than they have in the past, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean these are better songs by any means. In fact, nearly all of the songs on this album are far more upbeat and fast-paced than you might expect given their previous work. And that makes it very difficult to really sink into this album like you have on their previous recordings. In a lot of ways, this is a far more standard electronic effort than you might expect, and it's a far cry from anything I would call ambient or downtempo or the things we usually refer to when talking about the music of Air. To tell you the truth, there's really not a moment or an entire song that pulled me into this album. And while this record is not disjointed, it lacks that immersive flow that defined the music of Air and vaulted them to the status they retain to this day. Maybe it's the fact that I have rather high expectations for anything Air releases, but the reality is, after listening to this record a number of times, I'm just not impressed. It's just not a good record for Air, but at the same time, it is a somewhat good electronic release for anybody else. There's a solid musical construction and overall good sonic diversity, so taking that into account, on the buy it or borrow it, I'll say this one's a borrow it. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you dug it. If you did, go ahead and click subscribe, go ahead and leave a comment, go ahead and click like, whatever you want to do. Remember that if you leave a comment here or you share this video via my Facebook page, you're automatically entered into a contest to win at least 4 of the albums I recommend this month at the end of the month. If you want to email me, you can do that at thedailyguru@gmail.com, and check out my website where every single day I talk about the greatest music of all time at thedailyguru.net. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr right here, and we'll see you guys again next week.